Oreo, come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Hello, baby. See if anybody shows up for this thing. Hey, Dakota. How you doing? We'll just kind of sit here for a little while and see if anybody shows up. Come here. Come here, girlfriend. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, goofy. Come here. Come here. Yeah. We'll wait a few minutes and see how many people we get in here. Yes, I love you. I have some exciting news for everyone. Hey, Crimson RTZ. Well, there's a few trickling in. James M557, Gary Woodard, Jonah Powell. There's Jim Kimball. Hey, Miss Wiggles. Dakota, yes, this is pertaining to Prodigy. Nico, what up? Just want to see how many people we can gather in here before we start. I used to have cool streaming software that I could put a slide up to let you know that we'll start in 10 minutes or something, but I got tired of paying for that since I didn't do enough live streams to make it worth my money. So we're just going to sit here and look at each other for a few minutes. You can commiserate amongst yourselves, grab a Coke or whatever your favorite beverage is. I've been busy. Hey, Jonah. Jatsta. Is that the way you say that? I don't know. James M557 says he's getting his ramen ready. Gary Woodard asking, how's the office coming along? Well, not much has changed, as you can see. I haven't yet purchased there'll be like a dresser or something that sits back there that my Google Fiber router will sit on, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. AA Ron hasn't bowled since before the pandemic. Neither have I, although I did get out and give a lesson a couple of weeks ago. That felt pretty good. Jonah's missing Prodigy. Well, your missing Prodigy won't be lasting much longer. Prodigy's about to make a big comeback, but I'll save that for when we get to the main content of the live stream. I'm going to give this a few more minutes and just see how many people we can get in here, and then we'll start. James is averaging 191. Is that an improvement over past seasons, or have you fallen off? What's going on? Jim Kimball over the USBC's ban on some of the storm equipment. I don't know what to tell you about that. Don't ask me my opinion about it because I haven't really kept up that closely with it. I've been busy doing other things. Nice, Jatsta. So the ban on the balls was 4 days before you went to nationals, Jim? That's a problem. I don't know what to tell you about that. Hit the water bottle. Dakota, you are correct, although different synthetics are a little different, some of them are more like wood, but generally speaking, what you said is true. Well, there's a few Prodigy regulars I thought might pop in here, but I don't see them yet. Maybe they're quietly lurking in the background. And maybe they'll turn up. Hey, shadow figure. It is going. Thanks for asking. Well, I guess we could probably get started. I am here with 2 bits of news, and I should have opened this other browser window first before I started this, because I'm going to try to fill you in on some news before I get into the meat of what we're going to talk about. Let me see if I can find this. Aha, here we go. Well, should we begin? I guess we should probably begin. Okay, so I've got 2 main things I want to cover tonight. And I've been waiting to do this live stream for several days. I've been really eager to talk to you guys about some exciting new happenings with Prodigy. And I'm going to hold that for after I talk to you about this other thing. And it's more or less an update on some of the Prodigy kids that you have become so familiar with watching Prodigy Bowlers Tour over the years. And I figured since you know about these kids, even if you don't know them personally, you might be interested in hearing how they did at the Georgia State Pepsi tournament, which was held on April 23rd. So like 3 weeks ago, something like that. So let's just run through the results division by division. Now, I'm only going to talk about the Prodigy kids. Obviously, these were full field events, and there's, tens of entrants in each division, many of whom you wouldn't know. But I just want to touch on the ones who you might remember from Prodigy. Okay. So we'll start with the U18 girls. And I will tell you that Erin Klemenchik. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I got to go to the finals. It's a little interesting the way they put this stuff up on. There's a website called Bowlmetrics, Bowlmetrix, where you can track this stuff. But Okay, so your top 3 finalists. Well, Alyssa Jordan only appeared on Prodigy once. It was in, I don't remember the date, but it was one of those Strike or Else, I think was the name of the episode. She used to bowl over at Bolero Hostel. May still, not sure. I think she's about to age out of youth bowling, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, she was the 5 seed, won the first match, won the second match, defeated Aaron Klemenchik, who was on Prodigy a time or two, in the third match. And oh, by the way, she shot 267 that game. By the way, Alyssa, in her 3 matches to climb the stepladder, goes 279, 205, 267, and then she faces tournament leader Annalise O'Brien. And Alyssa kind of fell off that game, shot 171. Annalise goes 190 to win her 7th Pepsi title out of 8 attempts. 7. That's crazy. So congratulations to Annalise, but really congratulations to all the girls that made the top 5, especially the 3 we know from Prodigy. Moving over to the U18 boys, there are some names here that you know. The 3 seed was Jacob Ballinger, who was on our Farewell Atlanta episode. He was the 3 seed. He won his first match facing the winner of the opening match, neither of whom have ever been on Prodigy, so you wouldn't know them, although they're pretty familiar among Georgia youth bowlers. Jacob wins that second match in the stepladder, and then he faces Bryant Griffith, who was also on our final Farewell Atlanta episode. And Bryant wins that one 168 to 167 and faces Elijah Williams in the championship match. And Elijah comes out on top 234 to 204. Elijah had been on Prodigy a couple of times, and I think they were one of the Pepsi tournaments that we covered, and I believe he was on one of the GYBT Tournament of Champions that we covered. So there was the U18 boys. Jumping down to the U15 girls, only one in the top 5 was a Prodigy kid, and she was the 5 seed and unfortunately lost her first match in a low-scoring affair, 124 to 121. But Alana Harding took 5th in the U15 girls. There weren't any others in that stepladder that you guys would know if you're outside the Georgia youth bowling circles. So we jump over to the U15 boys, where it got pretty interesting. The 4 seed was a young man that I believe you've heard of named Hunter Moffitt. Hunter wins his first match, 191 to 162. He wins his second match, 234 to 209. He wins his third match, 211 to 196. And then he goes for the championship against a young fellow who I would love to tell you his name, but I've been told I can't say his name on the show. His mom doesn't want him on the show, so she is entitled to that privilege. So I won't mention his name, but he deserves credit for being the tournament leader. But Hunter got the best of him, 215 to 179. So Hunter climbed the stepladder and won the U15 boys. But congratulations to all of those kids, including the 2 that were vying for the title at the very end. So we drop down to the U12 girls. and there weren't any that were Prodigy alums, so you wouldn't have known any of them. In the U12 boys, we had a Prodigy alum come very close. He was it says the 3, 4. Well, that doesn't make sense. 1, 2. Well, sorry, but what it says on the website doesn't make sense. It says that we have got to be the 4 and 5 seeds. You wouldn't know either one of them. And so the next one to bowl was Melvin Perry III, MP3. You remember him? He was on our Farewell Atlanta episode. Great little kid. In fact, I'm kind of surprised. Has he shown up yet in our chat? He's usually on these, but he may be busy doing schoolwork tonight. Who knows? But in any case, Melvin Perry III, MP3, won his first match. Then he advanced to the semifinal, where he won that match 212 to 137, and he bowled for the title. And a young man named Malachi Wilson, I don't believe I know Malachi. He shot 194. Melvin shot 161. So MP3 came up a little short, but he finished second. And this was the first year he had even made it past the first day at the Pepsi. You got to understand what they do at the Pepsi in Georgia. They dress the lanes with just the most difficult oil patterns these kids have ever seen. A lot of the kids who bowl in the Pepsi, they don't even bowl tournaments. They go to this Pepsi tournament and they've only bowled house shot. And then they get to the Pepsi tournament and the lanes are impossible. And so most of them just drown. But, getting past the first day is a big, big deal. And then you bowl, I think it's 4 more games. I'm not sure. I think it's 4 more games on that when you come back. And then they cut to the top 5, and Melvin Perry made it as the 3 seed and just came up a little short. But a second place finish, his first time in the finals, that's pretty awesome. So we got to jump back to another section of this website to get down to the U10 girls. And this was kind of a surprise, I must say. And maybe it shouldn't be, because I understand that she has had high finishes in the past. But there was only one kid in the top 5 who was a Prodigy alum, and that was little Aubrey Nathanson. You remember Aubrey? She's been on the show a few times. She was on the Farewell Atlanta episode. Didn't have the best of days, but she's been on the show a few times and has bowled pretty well at times. But on this particular day, nobody bowled better. Aubrey took first prize at the Pepsi tournament in the U10 girls division. And I got to tell you, that just made my day when I heard that. We actually had 4 Prodigy winners with Annalise, Elijah, Hunter, and little Aubrey. And I think Aubrey's win may have warmed my heart the most, just because it was kind of unexpected, at least for me. In the other division, the U10 boys and the U8 girls and boys, I don't believe there were any kids who have been on Prodigy before. They all deserve congratulations for their achievement, but I'm not going to mention them here because, well, for one thing, I've never received permission from their parents to do so, but also just because, you wouldn't know who they are anyway. So that's kind of a quick update on how the Atlanta Prodigy kids did at the Georgia State USBC Pepsi tournament that was held in April. So congratulations to all those kids for their high finishes, and to those 4 kids who took top honors. So way to go. All right. Now to the big news. I have been waiting to deliver this news to you for a while now. So let me give you a little backstory here. So when I moved from Atlanta to the Kansas City area back in November, I had hoped that I would soon be able to find a permanent home to place Prodigy and maybe coach, or I don't know that I was really interested in running a youth program. That was a lot of work. And I did it in Atlanta at Roswell for, I don't know, 6 years, I think, 6 or 7 years. And I loved doing it, but it was a lot of work and I'm not getting any younger. So I just thought, okay, if I can find a place to put Prodigy, that would be awesome. Well, that has proven to be more challenging than I expected that it would be, but for a reason that I never would have predicted. So it turns out that in the Atlanta metro area, there is a glut of bowling centers. Figure that the Bolero Corporation, which used to be Bowlmore AMF, owns, I don't know, I think when they took over the Brunswick centers, that gave them 11 bowling centers in the Atlanta metro area. I think they've closed a couple of them, so they have 9, I believe, now. And they may have been about to open one, so I'm not sure if they've got 9 or 10, but they've got about 10 bowling centers. Plus, you've got Stars and Strikes. They've got 5 or 6 bowling centers in the area. So that gets you up to about 15, 16 bowling centers. And then there's all the independent mom and pop owned bowling centers, and there's got to be at least 8 or 10 of those. So in the Atlanta metro area, you've got well more than 20 bowling centers. Now, Atlanta's a big city, it's a big area, pretty spread out, but still 20 bowling centers is a lot. So I come up here to the Kansas City area. It's a smaller market, more than 1 million people. I mean, it's not like, Podunk City. It's a big city, but it's not the size of Atlanta. So it wasn't surprising to me that there were fewer bowling centers here. What has surprised me is that there's a lot fewer bowling centers here. In fact, as Atlanta has kind of a glut of bowling centers here in the Kansas City metro area are kind of scarce. I mean, I know that in the 50 plus years since I moved away after high school, almost all the bowling centers I used to bowl in are gone. King Louis Ranch Mart, where I bowled my first youth league, gone. All the King Louis bowling centers are gone, including King Louis East. I mean King, well, that too, but including King Louis West, which used to host a PBA tour event every year. All the King Louis are gone. Lucky Strike Lanes is gone. The only bowling center that I used to bowl at occasionally when I was growing up is a place called Ward Parkway Lanes. It's still around, but they don't have a youth program. There's a bowling center near me that is owned by Bolero. It's an AMF center, and they don't have a youth program. There's a few bowling centers here that don't have any kind of youth program. I don't know what these centers are thinking, where they think their customers are going to come from in the future if they don't have a youth program. Those are your future customers, but they don't have a youth program. So here's the deal. With so few bowling centers in the Kansas City area, that's bad news for Prodigy. It's good news for the bowling centers that have survived, because what it means is that with so few lanes available, the lanes that are open stay packed on Saturday afternoons after youth league is over. If they have youth leagues, they're packed wall to wall with open play every Saturday. So it's not like Roswell, where I could tell the bowling center we're going to need 8 or 10 lanes after youth league is over for 3 or 4 hours while we hold our little fake bowling tournament and tape our little show. We could have all the lanes we wanted most days because, you know, 40 lane bowling center, there are none of those here. The biggest bowling center here is 32. Most of them are 24. But of the 40 lanes there, I mean, they might have 6 that had, a birthday party or open play, or, sometimes they'd get busy and have 10 or 12 lanes going, but they'd all be down on the low end. We were always up on the high end. And, we had the place to ourselves for the most part, but that's just not available here. So this sounds like bad news for Prodigy, right? Well, in a way it is, but in a way it's not, because what it has forced me to do is to reimagine what Prodigy might be here. So now the good news. There are 2 associations here that are kind of similar to the GYBT, Georgia Youth Bowling Tour, back in the Atlanta area. And actually, I say GYBT is in the Atlanta area. Most of their tournaments are held in the Atlanta area, but they occasionally go all over the state, as the name would imply. Here, they do it a little differently. The 2 organizations are called the Kansas City Open, and just like GYBT, they hold a tournament every month throughout the year on the first Sunday of the month. Now, it's a little different from GYBT. They're not bowling for junior gold spots. They're bowling for scholarship money. And the GYBT, since they're giving away spots in junior gold, they're trying to prepare kids for junior gold by trying to mimic the junior gold format as best they can. And so they're doing their tournament based on the same age groups and gender groups the GYBT does, like the age groups I just read to you for Pepsi, except I think junior gold only goes down to U12. Anyway, they do U12 boys and girls, U15 boys and girls, U18 boys and girls. Here with the Kansas City Open, they don't do it based on age group. They do it based on average. So it's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, Division 5. They have 5 divisions. And obviously the Division 1s are your better bowlers with the highest averages. Division 2s are just below them, and so forth. The Division 1s bowl scratch. Division 2 on down bowl handicap. Now, since each division is bowling against bowlers of a comparable average level, nobody's giving up that many pins in handicap because, everybody in your division has an average that fits within this fairly narrow range of averages. So I think the most you could give up in average in handicap is, I think he said 17 pins, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Anyway, the point is they run this tournament every month, starting the first weekend in September, going through the first weekend in June. And their event in June is their final event of the season. And just like the GYBT, what they call their Tournament of Champions on the first weekend of June, the Kansas City Open's final event of the season is called their Invitational Scholarship Tournament. And they take all the funds that they've collected throughout the year and have not awarded, and it goes back into the kitty, and they will pay out a huge amount in scholarship money to the kids who qualified to be in this event. They have to have bowled in a minimum number of tournaments throughout the year to even be eligible to enter. But this is their big finale of the year. So, and then there's another group in town called the Heart of America Youth Classic, I believe. And their format is a little different. They bowl Saturday and Sunday. But I think they also do the I think they also do the not the age groups, but they do it by average and have different divisions. I had a conversation with the guy that runs it, and he explained it to me. Hey Hunter, I don't remember all of the particulars about how their format is different from the Kansas City Open. In the Kansas City Open, they bowl well, I should say that the tournament that I attended, which was the one at the beginning of this month, the one in the first weekend in May, I attended that one in Blue Springs, Missouri. They move it around every month, just like they do GYBT in Georgia. And they had two squad. This was a 32 lane house, and they had enough bowlers to fill two squads. So squad A bowled 3 games Sunday morning, and then squad B came in and bowled 3 games after them. And then squad A comes back, bowls 3 more games. Squad B comes back, bowls 3 more games. So everybody bowls 6 games, and then they cut to the top 5, and there's a step ladder in each division. And I'll bet you can guess where this is going. So I have agreed with the guy who runs the Kansas City Open that Prodigy is going to be their partner to cover their tournaments. So what you're going to see on Prodigy in June is the big season-ending tournament that they hold at the end of the 2021-2022 season. And they will hold that event on the first Sunday in June. Figure a week or so after that for me to edit the show and put it together and get it out on YouTube. So look for our first show from Kansas City to drop sometime around June 12th, give or take. So that's the big news. Now, I would love to cover the tournaments of the Mid-America or Heart of America Junior Classic as well. And I wouldn't rule it out, but I've talked to the guy, and what I understand him to have said was that their step ladder is a little different the way they do their step ladder. First of all, I believe it's a 3-game step ladder rather than 4. So it's 4 players rather than 5. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's correct. Anyway, rather than holding the step ladder for one division on a pair of lanes, what they do is they bowl the first game of the step ladder on this pair over here. The next game, they move to this pair and bowl the match 2 of the step ladder here. And then match 3 is on this pair of lanes over here. So they skip a pair or they move a pair after each game for their step ladder. And I understand what they're trying to do. They want to prevent the lower seeds from gaining an advantage over the higher seeds by getting lined up on the pair of lanes, and then the higher seed comes in and the other guy already knows what the lanes are doing. And I get it. I get what they're trying to do. But from my perspective, and I told the guy this, that, you know, for what I'm doing, it's kind of like TV. And when you're doing TV, it's storytelling. And every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And for Prodigy viewers, it's not like it's just a camera on a tripod that I can pick up and move. It's a little more elaborate than that. The platform that the camera sits on to get up high, yeah, it's big, it's bulky, and it takes a couple of people to move it, and it's not that easy to move. And if you've got, you know, a million bowling bags and people sitting in chairs and seats everywhere, it's just not that easy. And I told him that I couldn't just move the camera to follow a step ladder. It's just not practical. And for our viewers to see the first match from one division, then the second match of another division on the same pair of lanes, and then a third match from still another division, that wouldn't be very interesting for viewers to see. I mean, they would see the beginning or the middle or the end of the story, but they wouldn't see all three parts. And it's just a non-starter for me. I'm just not going to do that. That's not what the show is. So, for now, our only option is to follow the Kansas City Open, and I'm very excited about it. The guy that runs it is a terrific guy. He's very involved in youth bowling. Um, Obviously, with the KCO, he also coaches at a bowling center near me, which if I was going to coach somewhere, that's the bowling center I'd want to coach at. They have by far the best youth program in the area. And it's also the center where this first Prodigy 2.0 episode is going to be from, where this final tournament of the year is happening. It's at that bowling center. So you'll get to see it as our first stop on the new Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And I will tell you that in the last couple of months, I have been working behind the scenes on new artwork, new logos, similar to the old logos, but some new twists, some different treatments, but new artwork, new graphics for the show. There's a whole new show open, the flying scoreboard with the manhole cover rolling down the lane to reveal the Prodigy logo behind the pins that it knocks down. You've seen that for the last time. There'll be a whole new show open that I'm pretty tickled about. For those of you who used to watch Pro Bowlers Tour on TV back in I guess the 70s, you may recognize some of the graphics that I've borrowed. I prefer to think of it as a tribute to the old shows that they used to do. But in any case, it's going to be a fun thing, and Prodigy is going to be a little different. It's not going to be the goofy kind of unofficial, informal, and impromptu after league challenge matches that it used to be. We're actually going to be covering real tournaments, and there's going to be real winners who win real scholarship money. Now, I don't think their prize fund is so big that it's, a lot of money, but the tournament that we'll be covering in June might be a pretty good chunk of change. But, for these kids, it's more about the experience and about getting an opportunity to compete. And I will tell you that I've been hanging out at this one bowling center near me where this guy coaches, and just talking to some of the parents and some of the youth bowlers. I've had 3 or 4 kids come up to me saying, "Are you Coach Randy? I think I recognized your voice." And then this couple of Sundays ago, when I went to the Kansas City Open in Blue Springs at Lunar Bowl, they there were a few people that came up to me there too and said that they thought they might have recognized me or recognized my voice. So that was pretty funny. So apparently Prodigy has already penetrated the market up here to some extent, but I was going to wait until fall and start covering the Kansas City Open when they started their new season. But I decided that there would probably be value in getting a show out there from Kansas City before the summer got well underway. And my thinking was this. Um, my thinking was it's going to be hard to find a bowling center that'll just let us come in on Saturday afternoon and do a quick little tournament and, do Prodigy on a Saturday afternoon like we used to do, because the lanes just aren't available. We won't be able to set up at a particular bowling center and do that every Saturday. Just it's not feasible here. But what might be possible is to approach some of these bowling centers once some of the youth bowlers in the area have become familiar with Prodigy and have seen the shows that we do for the KCO. If we then go in and say, hey, we're only doing the KCO the first weekend of the month. The other weeks we have open. And if you would like to have us come in one day, maybe you collect the entry fee from the kids who want to bowl it. You can use your 3 league scores that you bowl in league that morning, and we'll take the top 5, put them in a step ladder, and that way I don't have to tie up 8 or 10 lanes for 3 or 4 hours on Saturday afternoon. We just come in after their league is done. We need a pair of lanes and a practice pair. And we're there for 90 minutes to 2 hours to tape the thing, and then we're out of there. So that might be doable on an occasional basis. So I'm not going to promise that part of it, but that's what I'd like to do. Now, on the KC Open, I only have one video camera. And it was only through the generosity of Prodigy viewers that we have that camera and the platform it stands on, because you guys bought it in a GoFundMe campaign that I ran a few years ago. Well, if I had a second camera and a second platform, I could record the Division 1 and the Division 2 step ladder at the Kansas City Open, release them on different weekends. So then we've got 2 weeks of content per month. And then we fill in a third weekend somewhere at some bowling center that wants to have us come in. Maybe they do a little scholarship event of their own, or maybe they make some funds to their pro shop available to the kids that win. I don't care how we do it. Maybe we could continue to do some of the goofy, wacky formats we used to do. I'm flexible about stuff like that. I just want to do the show. I like doing the show, and the kids seem to enjoy it. So the bottom line is there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, there's one more part to this puzzle. We have something up here in the Kansas City area that we didn't have in Georgia, and that's high school bowling. Now, the Kansas City metro area straddles 2 states. One of the first questions people always ask people from Kansas City is, oh, really? You from Kansas or Missouri? Actually, they say Missouri. Up here, they call it Missouri. And the truth of the matter is, if you're outside the area, the Kansas City you're thinking of is Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Kansas is not even the biggest city in Kansas. It's not even the second biggest city in Kansas. Kansas City, Kansas is the third biggest city in Kansas, behind Wichita, Overland Park, where I live, and then Kansas City, Kansas. But Kansas City, Missouri is the big city of the Kansas City metropolitan area. Now, there's a lot of suburbs around the area. There's Overland Park, there's Prairie Village, which is in Kansas. There's Leawood, Kansas, where I spent part of my youth growing up. There's Grandview, Missouri, Raytown, Missouri, Lee's Summit, Missouri, Blue Springs, where I was a couple weekends ago for the Kansas City Open. I mean, but Kansas City, Missouri is the big city in the Kansas City metropolitan area. But on the Missouri side of the state line, high school bowling is just a club activity. So I don't know if it's treated all that seriously, or if the bowlers that bowl high school bowling in Missouri are really even all that good. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some great bowlers that bowl for their high schools in Missouri, but I can't even seem to find a listing anywhere online that shows which schools in Missouri do high school bowling, because it's just a club activity. I suspect not all high schools do it. But on the Kansas side, it's a pretty big deal. And on the Kansas side, high school bowling is a varsity and junior varsity sport. And in fact, it's so serious up here that during the high school bowling season, any kid who bowls for his high school team he is prohibited by the state to bowl in any leagues or any tournaments outside of the high school bowling umbrella, which didn't make any sense to me at all when I first learned about it. But I eventually learned that they have that rule ostensibly to protect the kids who live way out in rural Kansas and who may not have access to leagues and tournaments, which raises the question, if they don't have access to leagues and tournaments, how interested in bowling could they actually be? But maybe they are. I don't know. It's not for me to judge. That's the rule. The bowling season for high school bowling in Kansas is not that long. It extends from the 1st of January into about the end of the first week or so in March. So it's February, it's January, February, and the first week of March. So what happens in all these youth leagues, that even this bowling center near me, where they have a fantastic youth program that is wall-to-wall kids all morning bowling league, when January rolls around, about half of them drop out because they're bowling for their high school. And then when the high school season is over, about 8 or 9 or 10 weeks later, many of them come back and bowl out the rest of the season in league, and many of them even bowl summer league. But it's kind of a disruption to the league scene, youth league, but I think overall it strengthens youth bowling in the state of Kansas, because these kids are pretty serious. And I have met one of the high school coaches who has, put out some pretty strong teams in recent years. And I mean, these coaches know what they're doing. I mean, they're real coaches. They're not babysitters. They're not, basketball coaches who make a little extra on the side by coaching the bowling team. These guys they're bowling coaches, bronze, and some of them probably silver bowling coaches. So that's pretty interesting. And I have been talking to, the general manager at this bowling center where we're going to be for the first Prodigy event that we do up here. He does all the statistics for all of high school bowling in Kansas, all of it. He maintains the website that keeps all the statistics for high school bowling in the state of Kansas. And he's been doing it for years. And so he's very involved in youth bowling. No wonder his bowling center has such a strong youth program. To have that kind of leadership at the bowling center, that's how you build a strong program, is you get people at the bowling center who are really behind youth bowling. I'm very excited about having them nearby, so that if I did want to spend some Saturdays coaching, that's where I'd want to be. And I think, I think they might have me. I don't want to speak for them. Maybe they wouldn't, but my thing right now is I want to find a way to keep Prodigy going up here. And so what I'm here to talk to you about is to let you know that we're going to be taping our first episode on June, I think it's the 5th, that first Sunday in June. And, it'll take me a week, 8 or 9 days to edit it and get it ready to go, but it'll be up around the 12th to the 15th, somewhere in there. And then we'll probably go silent for the rest of the summer until the fall starts up. And then in September, I hope to be doing these Kansas City Open tournaments each month. Usually we'll do the Division 1 step ladder. We might do a Division 2 here and there, maybe even skip down and do some of the lower divisions occasionally to give the kids an opportunity to get some exposure. But you know me, I'm mostly about bringing you some real competition. I will tell you, I thought it was pretty funny when I went and watched the tournament that they held in May. The 5 kids that made the stepladder finals in Division 1, every one of them was a two-hander. So you're not going to see much difference up here. And the quality of bowling was every bit as good. I'm not going to say if not better, but it was every bit as good as what we brought you in Georgia. These kids can really bowl up here. And there's a lot of good coaching. I mean, I was the only silver coach there was at Roswell. There were a couple other silver coaches and bronze coaches. Well, we had another silver coach who didn't really coach that often there the last couple of years I was there, but we had a couple of bronze coaches at Roswell, and some other bowling centers had, you know, some silver and bronze coaches, but they're everywhere here. It seems like if there's a youth program, you've got, silver and bronze coaches. Having high school bowling here, I think, has helped that because it's meant that the sport needed more coaches to coach kids at a proficient level. So, anyway, that's my news. Prodigy is back. It's going to have a somewhat different look. The graphics and stuff, I'm pretty excited for you to see. Um, and, you know, then we'll kind of go quiet for much of the summer, but then we'll be back with Prodigy at least once a month, I hope, in the fall. And if I can finagle a way to get a hold of a second camera to do a couple of the step ladders at the Kansas City Open each month, I'd love to do that. I'm sure they would love to get the exposure. And if I can ever, shake free and get this other association in town to reconsider the way they do their step ladder, it's kind of presumptuous of me to think that I could persuade anybody to, make such an accommodation just for Prodigy. But if they want the exposure, that's ask the PBA what they've had to do to make their finals work for TV. I mean, that's what you do if you want to be on TV. And YouTube is a different form of TV, but it's TV. So anyway, that's what I'm here to tell you about. It's a pretty exciting time, and so that's it. So with that, I'm going to scroll back up and see if I can find some questions that I can answer without having to dig too deep into my little pea brain. Okay, now we're back to the pre-stream chat. Dakota, one of the toughest breaks in bowling is having to strike in order to win the match and leaving a solid 8. Yeah, well, that does happen. And yes, James M. Annalise is, in fact, incredible. David Tribble talked to Annalise a couple days ago in North Carolina while watching her dad bowl. Her dad still bowls PBA 50 to her, and she usually goes with him. She is around competitive bowling all the time. Okay, let me just do any of you Do you know if any of the Prodigy kids bowled for high school? I can tell you that none of the Prodigy kids in Georgia bowled high school bowling because there is no such thing as high school bowling in the state of Georgia. It doesn't exist. And you'll have to talk to the idiots that run the Georgia Department of Education or whatever department it is that makes those decisions for public schools in Georgia. It's very stupid. Um, Joe B561, dang, Pepsi tournament in Florida is a house shot. Yeah, well, it isn't in Georgia. I don't know what it is here. They held the Pepsi tournament up here was held the same weekend they held it in Georgia, but it was in Topeka, Kansas. I don't know where it was in Missouri. It may not have even been the same weekend. That's one of the weird things about here is that, you got two states and each one of them does things a little differently. So, let's see here. Trayvon. Hey, Randy, how are you? I'm fine. I'm, old and creaky, but, I'm okay. And Big Business 365, I knew this was going to come eventually. Your hair, though, I haven't cut it since I left Georgia, and I have no intention of cutting it anytime soon. I'm going to grow it out to my butt, I think, and be a hippie again, like I used to be when I moved away from here. Thoughts on the Tyreek Hill trade? Well, obviously, it was one of those jaw to the floor, they did what moments. But as this has shook out, I actually think they might be better now than they were because, yeah, they can't replace his speed. I get that. I mean, Mecole Hardman is pretty doggone fast. He's in the same class as Tyreek. And this kid they got from Green Bay, I forget his name. He's supposedly really fast too. But I look at it a little differently. I look at it as below Tyreek, who did they have? They had Tyreek, they had Mecole. After that, you had D-Rob, Demarcus Robinson. They called him D-Rob. I called him D-Rop because he dropped so many balls. And, I think that you could pick any one of two or three players they have signed that are better than D-Rop. Pringle, he showed flashes, but nothing that would suggest that he was a superstar in the making. And I think they've got two or three guys on the roster now that are as good or better than he is. And, after that, you get a few players that would occasionally come in once in a blue moon. But I think overall their depth, they're just much deeper and overall just better in the receiving room now than they were when Tyreek was here. So we'll see. I know Andy Reid will figure out a way to use the tools he had, So, and we still have Mahomes. So I think they're going to be just fine. And I think they picked up a couple of running backs that might bolster the running attack as well. So this team might be pretty dangerous this year again. Their defense is definitely going to be better because it couldn't be much worse. Some shout outs to Hunter. Oh, yeah. Hunter shot 300. Oh, yeah. Hunter shot 300. This was his third 300 and his first sanctioned 300. And if I still had my software to do a live stream using the software, I would show you the clips I have of it, but I don't. But yes, congratulations to Hunter for all of that. That's awesome. Okay. This thing just jumped. You're welcome. I used to follow you on Prodigy through Roswell Bowling Center, Hunter. Okay. Thank you, Ray Hiller. Talon Eagle Gaming says, "Hey, Randy, are you still doing Prodigy Bowlers U Tour, or are you focusing on Kansas City?" The U Tour I thought would be a great way to keep Prodigy alive during the pandemic, that if any kids were still bowling, they could send videos in, but nobody ever did. I promoted the snot out of it on the show, and I think everybody who saw the document and saw that there were actually some standards they'd have to meet, I think they just freaked out and said, "Well, this is more work than I thought there'd be." You can't just set up a camera somewhere and send it in and expect me to put the Prodigy name on it if it looks stupid. But nobody wanted to go to the trouble of doing that. Nobody ever sent anything in. I mean, Christian did, but Christian knew how we did things, so of course he did. But nobody else ever sent anything. If you want to, I would consider, I will tell you this, when I did all the new logos, I did a new logo for the Prodigy Bowlers U Tour. So I haven't ditched it, but I haven't seen any evidence that anybody wants to do it. Thomas Sims, can't wait to watch PBT again. I can't wait to make a new one. I can't wait for you to see the new graphics. The new show open looks great. I'm supporting you, Randy. Can't wait to meet the new kids. Thank you, Talon Eagle Gaming. I love your videos. I'm a big fan. Your hair is getting crazy. Yes, it is. I washed it today. It is getting pretty long. It just about covers my ears now, but it's going to get longer. Okay. Coach Randy, you will never find another Christian or Hunter. No, I won't. You're absolutely right about that. But what I will find are some really, really good bowlers up here that are youth bowlers. And I'm sure that they have stories to tell, just as Christian and Hunter did. The thing about doing the show once a month is that you won't get to see them every week like we saw Christian and Hunter. And the thing about doing the show from the same bowling center every week like we did in Georgia is, you get to where these kids, and it becomes kind of more of a family. But I am confident that once we get started and once the routine gets set to where we're doing a tournament every month, you're going to see some of the same kids appearing again and again, just like you do when you watch the PBA on TV. Some of the cream rises to the top, and the better bowlers in each division, I'm sure, will make repeated appearances in the stepladder. And I'm anxious to see how that plays out because I think it'll be interesting. Southwest Air fan, I think Wichita is the biggest city in Kansas. You are correct, sir. But it's about 3 hours from here. Twister pins get a lot of elevation when the ball hits them. Yes, and they sound like Tinker toys. I hate twister pins, and I will never bowl in a bowling center that has them. At least not regularly, I won't. Good to hear Prodigy is coming back. Yes, it is. Southwest Air fan, I have a friend of mine that bowls league with me. She's a youth bowler. She bowled at a tournament at Bolero Roswell. Oh, how about that? Small world. Jonah Powell left the chat. He says, bye, Randy. Christopher Garcia just arrived and said, what did I miss? Well, you'll have to wait for this thing to process and come back and watch the stream all over again, because what you missed was all the information about how Prodigy is about to return. If you need money to help out with your production, I pledge $50. Chris Klotz, God bless you. Just let us know how you can receive the money. Well, I might do another GoFundMe to see if we can raise enough to get a second camera. We'll see. I want to see how the show starts to build again. If we can start, if we start seeing a similar number of views that we saw when we were doing the show every week, we've been away for so long that it's hard to know. But, I'd like to believe that a lot of the viewers are still there and would be interested in a new look Prodigy. So we'll see. What's the most unorthodox bowling style you've ever seen? I would say there are two. Well, three if you count Jason Buttriff. I don't know what to say about his game. It makes more money than my game. That's one thing I can say about it. But the guys that run up there and throw it from their chest and spin it and yet somehow control it, that's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. But I think the strangest style that's out there is the helicopter. And that's used a lot in Japan. And they usually bowl with like a 12-pound ball. And yet, and they let go of it, and their fingers are in front of their thumb, and it comes off like this. And it spins around on its side. And a lot of times it just hits the nose, and all the pins just go boink, gone. They're all down. I don't know how they do it. I would never coach it, but I do understand that they're bowling on lanes that have almost no oil on them. So that sort of has caused them to have to come up with a different way of bowling. So, hey, Randy, I know I wasn't here right away when you first started the live stream. What is the name of the bowling center in Kansas did you find to film Prodigy? Well, that is a complicated answer, Trayvon. So there is not one bowling center that I'm going to be filming Prodigy. We're going to be moving it around. It is going to be an actual tour. And I like to think of Prodigy Bowlers Tour as having graduated from the days of being a fake tournament that we would put on just for the kids at our bowling center each week and anybody else who would come to bowl with us, to actually being kind of like a television network that goes around and covers tournaments at different places. We're actually going to cover real tournaments. And that's pretty exciting. And I think I probably will get a coveted trophy pin and let them sign it at the end each week or each month. And then we'll figure out how we would gather them up and do a tournament of champions at the end. Maybe there won't be a demand for it. I don't know. Chaz, Clorox, Valdez, Scantling is the other receiver you were thinking of from the Packers. Yes, definitely fast, but also known for his drops. Hopefully can't be worse than D-Rop. Yeah, hopefully not, I'm still here. What's up? Join the stream. Hi, Randy. And the rest of it's just kind of, Josh Greenberg. Hi, Josh. How you doing, buddy? So anyway, we covered a lot of ground on this stream. Yum Bodium. What is your highest game now? I'm assuming you're not asking that of me. Somebody else was being asked that. Maybe Josh? Don't know. I've had a bunch of 300s. Thank you for explaining that to me. It makes sense. Great title for our first can. Hello, Casey. I do hope to get out and shoot some highlights of Kansas City, just a little tour guide kind of thing to put at the beginning of the show to kind of welcome you guys to my hometown. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do that, but I'll figure something out. Yes, the mother of all stepladders. It was, that was a lot of fun, I must say. All right. I got nothing else to add, and it looks like we've reached the end of the the questions. So I'm going to jump off here. It's getting to be about 8:30 here in the Midwest. We're Central Time Zone here. And so with that, we'll end the live stream. If you have questions about what's happening with Prodigy, wait for this video to process and come back and watch it from the beginning, because I pretty much covered it all. And I wish you all the very best. The next time you see me, my hair will be even longer than it is. Probably even a little whiter than it is. Is that possible? No, I don't think so. Anyway, that's it. You guys take care. It's great to visit with you. And we will talk again sometime soon. So you guys take care. Peace out.